Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, and I'm here to help you reach your potential as a leader and a human being. Welcome to Remarkable TV. Today we're talking about the idea of before the benefit of the doubt. Are you ready? Let's get started. Have you ever had a situation where someone did something and you disapproved? You didn't like what they did or the way that they did it, and you immediately jumped to an assumption of why they did it, to their agenda, to their approach, to their intention behind it. Have you ever done that? Have you ever done that and then later determined that your assumption about their reasons why and their intention weren't nearly what you assumed them to be? Have you ever had someone look at your actions or your words and assumed the negative when they truly were misinterpreting what your intention was? Well, the answer to all of those questions is yes. Here's the fact. The fact is that you saw their behavior and someone else saw your behavior. That's fact, but everything else is an assumption, right? We know what we saw, but we don't know why they said or did it. There's assumptions being made. So what I want to do today is talk about that assumption that we make and giving you something else to consider. Oftentimes what we do is we jump to the negative. That's the example I've just given you. We jump to the negative intent. We assume the worst. We assume they're out to get us. We assume that their intention is less than honorable or pure. Now, we don't all do it all the time, but many of us are very cynical, or especially if we have a past experience with someone, that's where we head. And someone might coach you and say, well, you should give people the benefit of the doubt. And really what they're saying is you should just assume positive intent. They're not necessarily trying to do this, that, or the next thing. And here's what I've learned. I've learned that it's a big leap from assuming negative intent to assuming positive intent. So when people say, give people the benefit of the doubt, which by the way I believe in, I just know it's a big jump for us, especially if it's with a person that we've not had great experiences with before. So I'm going to give you something different to consider. I'm going to ask you to consider this. Why not assume benign intent? Neither negative nor positive, just benign. It just is. I don't know what their intent is. Listen, we could take almost any situation and say, here's, in a third person, and say, here's what happened. Why did they do that? Why did they say that? And we can almost always come up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible reasons why. We don't know which one it is. The negative one you assumed might be right, but if there's 3 other choices, we might not be correct. Why don't we just start by assuming benign intent? We don't know, so let's not make a rash judgment one way or the other. Assume benign intent. So how can assuming benign intent, which is what I'm saying is before the benefit of the doubt. You could say, well, it is giving people the benefit of the doubt, and yet I just have found that often when people say that, they're thinking jump all the way to positive. So if my assertion to you today is before the benefit of the doubt is benign intent, how can that help you? We've got 4 ways it can help. Number 1, it can keep you from reacting. When we react, especially in a negative way, it's usually because we've assumed the worst in the other person. They're out to get us. They have a different set of values or a different set of goals than we do, and so we react to them in a less than perfect way. If we will assume benign intent, it may keep us from reacting. Second, it provides you a new perspective. It gives you the chance to perhaps see things in a different way. If you will just do the exercise of saying, what might their reasons have been, you will almost always come up with more than one, which means, well, then I don't know which one it is. What could I do? How might I respond or how might I reply to that email in a way that would work for multiple of those choices? And that might help you, right? Next, it allows trust to grow. If I assume benign intent, it gives the chance for a more positive conversation, and perhaps trust can grow rather than being stunted or hurt, right? So assuming benign intent can allow trust to grow. And lastly, it reduces conflict. The idea of assuming benign intent comes from my good friend and co-author, Guy Harris. And he talks about it from the context of reducing conflict. Oftentimes conflicts escalate because we assume that what they did, they meant this, or their intention was this. And if we take that assumption out and just say, okay, that's what they said, and now what can I do with that? It will keep us from escalating, it will keep us from reacting, and it will reduce the amount of conflict. Assuming benign intent. It's an idea worth considering. I believe, as I've talked about it today, it comes before the benefit of the doubt. I'm by no means saying we shouldn't go to assume a positive intent, but if you can't quite get there, or if you have experience with someone that makes it really hard for you to make that leap, at least work on getting to assuming benign intent. Let me close with today's tweet. If you can't assume people have a positive intent, try believing their intent is benign, neither positive nor negative. If you like learning from video, and especially if you don't mind learning from me, did you know that we have a whole series called 13 Days to Remarkable Leadership, which gives you each day a video lesson in the form of a story and a tool that you can download to help you apply that leadership lesson. It's 13 days, it's 13 emails, and I'd love to have you join us if you haven't. And if you have, well, you can send somebody else to join us as well. All the links are right here. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for being on this episode of Remarkable TV. We'll be back again next week with another episode. We'll see you then.